Who's the greatest band of all time? Who's the most overrated? My answer usually surprises people. Is Led Zeppelin the world's greatest cover band? How hard is it to truly play the drums? And why are we still working 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday? And how do we really grow a coaching or consulting biz? This is going to be one of the more unique podcast episodes I've ever recorded. And that's today on the Underlayer, show where we go beneath the surface to find out what's really driving behavior. I'm David Young, your host, work with coaches and consultants to help their businesses run leaner, earn more, and take less of their time. And today I am joined by Mr. Band of Misfits himself, Stephen Moegling, founder of Band of Misfits, where he mixes woo and strategy to offer a blueprint for independent experts to monetize their expertise. He's also a drummer in a Led Zeppelin cover band and a doodle dad. So we're going to talk music, business, and a bunch of corporate nonsense. Stephen, the maestro, great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Great intro. I was like, I can't wait to hear about this. I guess I have to participate in the topics. Pressure.
Yeah. So you're one of the more just interesting, smart, funny guys, people that I've met.
Keep going.
on my LinkedIn journey, right at 3-year anniversary of when I started posting on LinkedIn. I wouldn't have found you if I hadn't started doing that, as well as many other people across the world. So grateful for that. Grateful our paths crossed. And I haven't really talked music on the podcast much. So you're kind of the first one. We're going to do a little bit of a deep dive. I love music, kind of came a little bit later in life than it probably should have. But then I really got serious about it. And I love talking about it. I love listening to it, especially classic and alternative rock, modern rock, no country. And so those will be good. Be fun.
Yay, let's do it.
So we'll start with your drumming. So have you always drummed or did you pick that up later?
Yeah, I probably started playing the drums when I was 3 or 4 years old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So right from the beginning.
Right from the start. My oldest brother, Mike, who's an incredible musician and an incredible drummer, played drums in the house growing up. And I feel like I just inherited that rhythm from him. I was like, man, I got to do that. Smash things, make a lot of noise and not get in trouble. I got to do that for a while. So, yeah.
Did you play in like bands in high school or college?
Not in college. I took some time off, got reconnected with drums when I left college about 5 years out, and have been playing since then, and then been playing in a Led Zeppelin cover band for the last 8 years. And tonight we have an out-of-town show. So nice. We're super pumped about it.
Yeah, I know you've talked about that bookings used to be a little bit more steady, and then kind of clubs and places you play got a little more rigid. Is that kind of picking back up with the bookings, or how's that currently going?
Well, yeah. So things dried up for us for a while, and then we got smart and we hired a promoter. Not unlike hiring you or any other consultant, like hiring an expert who's really, really good at that thing that you don't like to do, you're not good at. And so now we're playing every month. And
nice.
Our last video on Instagram has now over 40,000 views from a tiny little cover band in Richmond, Virginia. Yeah, so we're rocking it.
Nice. I'll have to get that. I'm on Instagram some. I don't post much, but I do consume. I'll have to get that handle. I'd definitely check that out. One of these days I'm going to get down to Richmond. I'm going to see you guys play. That's one of my goals.
Love it.
What, so my first real job was selling pharmaceuticals for Roche. And this is so long ago that they gave you roommates. So we'd go to training in just outside of this New York City in New Jersey, and you got a roommate, which was great fun. Who doesn't want to just room with a random stranger for a week? And one of the trips that I took up there, the guy was a drummer. And I remember him telling me, I remember this, but he was like, drumming and singing is the hardest combination to do because you have to figure out when to breathe. And I got really like understood that because I've never played the drums, but I don't know why. But every time, and mostly it's when I hear Hotel California and I hear Henley drumming and singing. And I'm always like, how was Don Henley breathing for that entire song?
A lot of cocaine, I think. Yeah, the other reason why drumming and singing at the same time is hard is because nobody wants to see it live. Nobody wants to go to see a show and have some idiot in the back with a drum set where you can't see singing. The only person who could ever pull it off was Phil Collins, and he did one song a night, which was In the Air Tonight. So that was it. So I think that's the other reason why it's so darn hard. And the other thing is drummers aren't by nature great singers. Like Don Henley, Phil. There was a band in the 80s, Romantics or something. It was like a one-hit wonder band, and the guy sang and played the drums. But anyway,
what I like about you.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I have someone would call it like a savant memory when it comes to music and how quickly I can recognize it. And there's a show. Have you ever seen or heard of the show called Beat Shazam on Fox?
No.
So it's actually a new season's getting ready to launch next week. So it's Jamie Foxx and one of his daughters. She's the DJ. He's the host. And it's basically like naming songs quickly, like beating Shazam, the app. And so it's a whole thing. They have three pairs of 2 contestants, and then they go through, try to win money. And the final is you have to literally beat Shazam because it can name the song in like 4 or 5 seconds. So they give you a snippet of the song, and then you have to ring into it. Anyway, I'm so good at it, but I don't know any modern music. So I'm mostly like 65 to about late 90s, and I'm pretty good. And if I know the song, I can get it like even just one note, and it can even be like middle of the song. I don't even need the intro. Like I hear it and I know it. So I've looked at getting on the show. Seriously, I've never looked at getting on any game show because that doesn't interest me at all. But that show, I was like, I need to get on that show. But I need my oldest son to do it. He's only 17, so he's not old enough. But the kicker is, and this explains some of the show, is it doesn't matter how much music you know. They just want cheesy dancing contestants. So you have to be goofy and high five everybody and get on the floor and dance with Jamie Foxx. I was like, I don't have interest in any of that. Just play the songs and I'll fucking name them. Anyway. But yeah, Romantics. I remember the song. So it's interesting. I had to think about the drummers. I went to an Aerosmith concert once, and Joe Perry sang once, and then you realize why Joe Perry doesn't sing.
Oh,
so it's like, like don't do that. There's no need for that. There's a reason why you guys have separate. There's a reason why Steven Tyler doesn't play the guitar. There's a reason why you don't sing. So let's keep that in mind. But yeah, I think it is pretty rare. I think if you're like an elite drummer, guitarist, bassist, most of those guys can't sing. So I think it's pretty rare.
Yeah. Most drummers are knuckleheads too. It's like, and they're not a front man. Just get in the back. Nobody cares. We had a show with our new promoter recently, and I love our promoter, worth every penny, and lazy photographer did photos of the whole set over the next week. A lot of photos of Jane, the singer, who she's a rock star. A lot of photos, David, of Adam, our guitarist. A lot of photos of Gordon, our bass player. A few of Russ playing keys in the back. 0 of yours truly. Wouldn't get out of her chair. Wouldn't move over 2 feet just to show just a crowning moment of Stephen playing drums. So we just don't get any credit. Yeah. But I will tell you this, though, David, any music fans out there or musicians, nobody cares about the drums until the drummer screws up. And then everybody knows. If you're a singer, you can flub a note. If you're a guitarist, you can flub 10 notes. If you're a drummer and you drop the beat, the entire crowd will say, what just happened? Because we were doing sound check at a private event years ago. Something happened and I dropped the beat. And it was like a record skipping. Like the servers, the bartender, like everybody turned like, what just happened here? What? And I was like, talk about the pressure. Nobody cares about what I do until I screw up. And then all of a sudden everybody, now I'm getting stage fright here, and I'm going to have to cancel the show and blame it on David and this dumb podcast. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That's what I'm here for. Is it so like when you took on this gig with this cover band, like how many Zeppelin songs did you know prior?
Well, I knew all the songs because I grew up on Zeppelin and loved them. We started as at some point we might talk about marketing and consulting and all that stuff. But this is a good sidebar into that. We started off with the world's most terrible idea. We said, let's play cover songs, but Let's only play the rare B-sides, like the real, like musicians love these particular songs. So we'll play
That sounds like
REM.
that sounds like a terrible idea.
It's a terrible one. We'll play REM, but we won't play Losing My Religion or anything that Everybody Hurts. We'll play that rare B-side song that nobody but a diehard fan. And we wondered why for 5 years we played to empty rooms.
Yeah. I was just having this conversation last Saturday night, group of people, and a couple of summers ago, I took my youngest son to see Creed, and they played 16 songs, hour 40 minutes. You knew every single song, so all the hits, and then a couple of the less popular but still ones that you knew. It's terrific, great entertainment. And I don't even think they're that great of a band, but it was a great 2 hours. A month later, I took my oldest son to see Pearl Jam. And I've seen Pearl Jam 15 times. I think Pearl Jam is significantly better as a band. The show was, I would say, half as entertaining. They played 24 songs, but 7 songs off the new album that A, they suck, and B, nobody knew. So you get a couple old songs, the crowd gets into it, then Eddie goes on a long, monologue, like anybody wants to hear him talk. They don't. And then they play a couple songs off the new album, and the vibe's totally dead. And they crank it back up and play a good one. You're like, oh, okay. And then right back down. So you're just riding this roller coaster of awesome 4 minutes to shitty 8 minutes. And they won't do it because Eddie will never let them. But they have so many great songs. I would rather just see them show up, pick 15. It doesn't even matter which ones. Just play them back to back. Don't talk. Just play. It could be 90 minutes. Everyone's going to have a great time. Everybody knows it. Sing along. All the riffs, all the grooves. Awesome. They'll never do it. But yeah, when you go see a comedian, you want to hear new stuff. When you go see bands, you want to hear the stuff you know.
Well, I saw Paul McCartney interviewed, and he has the right approach. He said, when I put together a set list when he goes out on tour, he said, he's like, man, what would McCartney / Beatles song? What would man? Everybody wants to hear, Drive My Car. Everybody wants to hear Blackbird. Everybody wants to hear, Maybe I'm Amazed. Like, he puts together the list based on what the customer would love to hear versus, hi, I'm a tortured artist. And I'm going to, like, we saw an artist, I won't mention her name, wonderfully talented. And it's this new thing that's been going around, David, where the artists who have been matured and been around, they'll come out to tour, but they'll play a record. Like one of their records,
like start to like a beginning to end. Yeah. And
she's like, "Hi, good to see you. Okay, we're gonna be playing songs from." I'm like, "Okay, I've never heard of this record. I just want to hear the hits. Now I really got to hear all B-sides for an hour and a half, and maybe you'll sprinkle in, what we all came for at the end. Great, thank you for this. This is highway robbery."
Yeah,
gosh, you sound like how did you turn me into a grumpy old man so fast? I mean, you're rubbing off on me. What is this?
I know, right? What? So before we get to my overrated bands, where do you stand on the greatest band of all time?
Could I say band or artist or?
Yeah, whatever. Who do you think's the best?
Well, in terms of popular genre, I've been on a Prince kick lately. I've been watching a lot of footage from Prince live. Did you happen to see the While My Guitar Gently Weeps, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame performance?
Yeah, I've seen that clip, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Prince is in the shadows and he comes out for this 5-minute guitar solo. And not only does he melt everybody's eyeballs with what he played, then he does these 2 moves. The first move is he just falls backwards into the audience and, of course, is caught by his handler who's waiting for him while he's continuing to sear on the guitar. And then at the end of the performance, he takes the guitar and does an Elvis Presley thing where he just flips it behind him and walks off the stage. And I thought, that is an artist. Melt your face off and stylish. And his hat never got all cockeyed. The guy's a genius. So I'm going to put Prince down as my category. What about you?
I like that. I like that. Is that true? He can play. He could play like 20, 25 instruments. Like he could play basically everything. I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, guy's a genius.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it in terms of like a solo artist like
Well,
that.
give me a band then.
Yeah, I think
Besides Nickelback, I'm sure that's your.
I hate Nickelback. How could you tell? Although the documentary about being Nickelback is supposed to be really good and just how much shit they've taken like all these years. Anyway, I think it's got to be the Stones. I just from a longevity standpoint, the number of classic riffs. I mean, just so many songs. I don't know. I think
favorite Stones album.
I don't do albums. I'm not a big album guy.
Oh, you're one of those types.
Yeah, Let It Bleed, I guess, would come to mind. But I'm more songs than albums. I think you could argue for the Beatles. I think you could argue for the Who, and I think you could argue with for Zeppelin in terms of bands. I don't know if I'd put any other. I think those four. I don't think I would put any other bands.
You wouldn't put U2 in the category?
No,
not at all, huh?
No. Yeah, I think that's it. I remember this is like in the late 90s. Kevin Bacon did a countdown of the greatest bands, and they had the Beach Boys at 9, and I almost broke the TV. I was like, Beach Boys? What are you talking about? But maybe I'm too young.
What's that terrible Beach Boys hit from their later Way Down in Kokomo? Remember that?
Oh my God.
Eyes Bleeding Music.
That's terrible. It's awful.
I don't like the Beach Boys, but I will say that Brian Wilson and Pet Sounds was a genius work for that time period, right?
Yeah, and that's usually what it comes back to, is that Brian Wilson was a genius and that album was ahead of its time and like all that. So
okay, well, fun fact: Mike Love, who stayed on with the Beach Boys and did Kokomo, actually said with a straight face in an interview, "Hey, Kokomo was a #1 hit. My predecessor never achieved that kind of stuff." I'm like, you cannot say Kokomo, like, and compare that to Good Vibrations. I mean, come on, dude. You're getting high on your own supply.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's obviously lots of great bands, but I always come back to the Stones. So we'll go to that's a perfect segue into overrated. So I'll give you my first. I have two, and like I said, the first one people are like, oh, when I say the second one, people are like, you're out of your mind. It's just fine. The first one, I can't do any Radiohead at all, like at all.
This might be the shortest podcast.
He's hitting eject. He's hitting eject.
How dare you?
Like, I think Creep is so bad. If anybody ever out there is going to plan on kidnapping and torture me, and they play like the music to get you to talk, if you play James Taylor followed by Creep, I will tell you anything you want to know as fast as you can possibly turn that music off.
I mean, Radiohead would agree with you on Creep.
Okay.
Yeah. But that wasn't even Radiohead. No, Radiohead became Radiohead on the second album, The Bends.
Maybe I need to take a deeper dive. But every time I hear one of their songs, I'm like, I gotta turn this off.
Yeah, well.
All right, give me one of yours, because when I say the second one, you'll definitely hit eject.
And you'll probably say Led Zeppelin. The most overrated band, as far as I'm concerned, is by far, without a shadow of a doubt, Grateful Dead.
Oh wow, my wife's really gonna be mad.
I know. Now everybody else is turned off.
She loves the Dead.
Well,
and Fish.
Just try to listen to any of that music sober. It doesn't happen. It just doesn't work.
It's not. It may not supposed to be work though. It might. The altered state might be just the norm.
I'm too straight. I just never got it. Plus, as a drummer, and I know those guys in the Dead are very famous drummers, but it just sounds like badly played music without a point. And then you play for 13 to 20 minutes, and I'm like, guys, you You lost me in the first measure, and you never got me again. Okay, so that's my laying it on the tracks. What's your?
My second one is the second one is U2, which you said was
I
maybe the
I
best.
I had
Yeah.
I had a hunch.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I remember saying it to somebody once. I thought she was gonna hit me. She was so she was like so personally offended, like she was Bono's cousin or something. Um, it's not that I think they're bad, and they have a lot of good songs, but I just I don't know. There's just something about their music, and I think part of it is, and REM's a little bit the same way. Is REM has some like harder songs. I like the heavier stuff. I don't like the soft. I don't like the radio friendly. I don't like the poppy music. That's not my thing. I want it heavier. So when I hear a song like "Bullet in the Blue Sky" with U2, I'm like, oh, see, that's really good. Like I love that song, but I feel like that's so few and far between, and then you're down to all their radio friendly pop hits, and I'm like, I want more of the heavier riffs and I want less of that, but so much of it is not that. It's just radio pop friendly, and I just can't do it.
Yeah, with lyrics about the troubles in Ireland and apartheid and racism and violence and ending it and world peace. I mean, I know those topics don't resonate with you. You're more of a, you know, if Creed didn't sing about it, then it's not worth singing about. So you can tell I'm defending the position of U2. How dare you? How dare you? I met the members of U2. They're
Were,
world class
were
people.
they lovely?
Yeah, and I'll give you a quick story. I got to meet them backstage before a show. I was with 30 other people who had that special opportunity. They lined us up in a horseshoe, a greeting line. I was first to meet The Edge, the guitarist, and Adam Clayton, the bass player. Asked me my name. Hi, my name is Stephen. Nice to meet you. Blah, blah, blah. So delightful that you're here. But very charming guys. Shook my hand, talked with me for a few minutes, and they went down through this horseshoe. 29 other people. Hello, what are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. Nice to meet you. And then when they got to the back of the horseshoe, they made the line back around, thanking everybody one last time. And then after 29 people that they had just met, David, Adam and the Edge said, Stephen, it was so delightful to meet you. I hope you enjoy the show. They remembered my name.
That's impressive.
First class people.
Very
There's a
nice.
reason why some of those bands stick around. They figured it out. It wasn't just the music and haters
Yep.
like you that made them decide to go back in the studio to try again.
Yeah, luckily I wasn't in charge of paying their bills, so they were all set. I was in the minority. But yeah, I don't know. Somebody's got to take a. We can't just all agree on all of it.
Of course. Hey, that's what I did with the Dead.
Yeah, exactly. Have you watched the Becoming Led Zeppelin documentary?
I did, yeah.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
I really enjoyed it. I knew some of it, but I did not know. I don't think I knew exactly. Well, I didn't know how the band kind of came together, but I really did know they just started right out of the gates with like communication breakdown and like some of the great riffs like right from the start, and then they showed that footage like the first time they played, and those people look like it's like they don't even know what they're hearing. They're like looking around like, what is this music? What are we doing?
They had fingers in their ears.
Yeah, like they were just like, oh, yay. Who are these guys again? But it was just so ahead of the time, and it didn't take long for it to kind of catch on. And yeah, they just have some of those. I mean, some of those riffs are a whole lot of love. The Ocean, Kashmir, like just those riffs are they're just so good. They never get old. Like I don't know. Every time I hear it, I'm like, I'll listen again. Like it's just perfect.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
The reason why I asked if they're the greatest cover band, have you ever watched that YouTube clip? It's like 12 minutes of like how many of their popular songs are like lifted from like 30s, 40s, 50s blues artists.
Oh,
And then there was a
for
guy,
sure.
I think Page was touring. I don't know if it was with the Yardbirds or another earlier band. But there was an opening band who apparently had the music to Stairway to Heaven, not the lyrics, but essentially the exact opening, especially the opening riff. And then later on, they basically play the riff, and then Plant wrote the kind of the mystical lyrics. So they're like, that song wasn't even original. Now, I don't really like Stairway to Heaven, so like it doesn't matter. That dude can have it. But anyway, it's interesting when you go back and I think they play. They have somebody's talking about it, and then they'll play like the original, and they play the Zeppelin version, which of course is a little bit different. It's obviously heavier and faster. The lyrics are usually different, but it's like all their best stuff was not they didn't come up with it. They just took somebody else's and made it better. It's an interesting 12-minute watch.
You've just summed up my entire career. I don't make anything up that I do. It comes from somewhere.
Well, David Lee Roth has said that. He's like, we're all stealing from somewhere, and then we're just putting a slight twist on it to make it our own, and then that's it. So that's just how it works. So the Van Halen, quick Van Halen story. So when they toured, I don't know when this was, but they'd long since broken up. Hagar had taken over, and then they got back together and they did like a split tour. So like, I think Hagar was coming out and playing with the band, and then Roth was playing with just musicians, and they were flip-flopping because they couldn't agree on who would open. So they were flipping every night. And my buddy went 2 nights and just said that the music split was Roth played his stuff and Hagar played his stuff. And he was like, it was so obvious. Like all the Roth stuff he just blew the rest of them out of the way. Even though he had the music, even though he had Eddie playing the guitar and Michael Anthony on the bass and all that, he was like, those songs post Roth they just simply weren't as good. And when you hear it like back to back and you see it like back to back, he's like, it just hits you in the face. Like just wasn't even close, which I hadn't really thought of until he was explaining that. But yeah, another interesting group of people.
Do you mean to tell me that as time goes on, drugs and alcohol could impact a band's ability to produce?
It seems that is possible.
I feel like after Jump, that 1984 period, I was just like, you're just watching the roller coaster just go down the track. I know. I'm a big Hagar fan though, and I love the Van Hagar time.
Well, I think it's also hard to just keep. I think even the geniuses and the great artists, like there's only so much good material. Like again, I'm a big Pearl Jam fan. I know I don't really do albums, but I know their albums because I've listened to them so much. But I would argue their last great album was 1998, Yield. I don't think any of their albums post that are really that good. I just think you have a shelf life of really high quality material, and after that, it just drops off.
I mean, look at the Beatles. I mean, how long were they together, really, producing albums? Was it 7 years?
Yeah, it wasn't
some crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was less than 10 years.
Yeah, short window. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Pearl Jam stuff after '98, like there's some good songs in there, but for the most part, those albums, like start to finish, like no way.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. Yield was the last full album I've put on from those guys, and I think highly of them. But
it kind of drops off a cliff.
Yeah, creativity is a very finicky thing. It's a very finicky thing.
What do you guys play any original? Have you come up with any original stuff, or is it just all covers?
We did an EP with the band years ago. Our guitarist and keyboard player particularly wrote the songs. I thought it was candidly one of the stupidest ideas I've ever heard. Because it's one thing to be in a cover band, it's another thing to write your own stuff. It's a whole other. But man, a couple of those songs that they brought us were like, woo! We went to the studio for a couple of days, and actually one full day for me, and cut an EP, and I was very, very proud of that work. But I will tell you a funny story. Could be kind of relatable for anybody who's ever faced down a dilemma. So when you record these days, you play to a click track tempo. That way, anybody in the band who wants to go back and overdub or add new parts, they're guaranteed that the tempo when you start ends when you finish. Back in the, like if you put on a Zeppelin record, they will speed up or slow down throughout the entire thing, and that actually what makes to me the sound. But modern era click track.
And you can you're talking about, you can hear that like in your headphones.
So everybody
or
puts on headphones and you can hear the click.
Right.
I'm the drummer. I'm Mr. Click Track. So we set up the night before to record fully the next day. And the producer says, okay, let's just run through a couple with the click track just to make sure everything's good. I blew it. I mean, I could not stay on the tempo for anything. And I went back to my house that night, and this might say something, dear viewer, listener, about yours truly. I looked in the mirror for an hour and a half and shouted, you are going to do this. You are going to F and destroy this click track. I mean, I screamed at myself to get, because I was a broken mess. I'm like, I'm going to let the entire band down. We are going to waste $5,000 of hard-earned money unless I pull this shit off. We get in to the studio the next morning at 9:00, and the first song that we record is a ballad. I played like it was a Slayer cover song. I mean, I was pounding the hell out of the drums, and I stayed on click. And I finished that recording. I was like, yeah, screw you, click track. And the producer comes in, he goes, Stephen, nice work, but could you not kill the drums next time? Because this is supposed to be a James Taylor ballad, because David is going to love this song because he loves James Taylor.
It's beautiful. That was like Caroline in my mind offshoot.
So the shouting match in the mirror paid off.
Nice. Sometimes you just got to tell it to yourself straight. How hard is it to learn? I'm always fascinated by since I don't play music. I mean, I have tried to learn the guitar, but I'm terrible at it. And I can't sing. I can't really play, but I can hear music. So like, I can recognize strum patterns. I can listen to a song, and if I was listening to Even Flow the other day, and I just listened to the drums like for the entire 5 minutes, so I can isolate it out in my head. But I'm always curious when you're creating music, like how do you remember when you write the notes? How do you remember that it's that song and those are all the notes? Like that's always a I know that probably sounds dumb to a musician, but like I don't know how you remember when you're creating again from scratch. You're not memorizing something that's already been written. That I get. But if you're coming up with it, like whether it's the riffs, the guitar, the bass, the lyrics, like makes a little bit more sense because you're memorizing the words. But and I guess maybe it's the same when you're a musician. But like I'm always just fascinated by that process. And then how long does it take to where you're like, all right, that song, that 4 minutes goes like this, and then we have that down. Like how does that process work?
Two things. Number one is, how do you remember how to get to the grocery store? Do you just get lost every time, or you just with your eyes closed, you basically know how to get there?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's easy now because my phone tells me. But if I was in a new city and I didn't have GPS, then it would start trial and error, and then I would just learn it.
Yeah. Same thing with learning a piece of music. So some of our band members will have like a cheat sheet in front of them of chord changes for the guitar, for example, or Jane, the singer, because she likes to sing off book, which just means not reading, singing from the lyrics in front of her. So she'll have a cheat sheet on the stage floor with just like the first word or phrase of a verse, and then some version of a cue, like for her. With drums, it's just becomes muscle memory. And there's always in Zeppelin a couple weird moments that are just odd because they like to do odd things, that I would have to commit to. We do one song called "The Song Remains the Same," which is a lot of changes out of seemingly nowhere, and it's just muscle memory. But I will say though, that was the first part. The second part is some musicians have what they call big ears. Big ears. So Phil Collins said he had big ears, and big ears means, like you with music, he hears it once and he just knows it.
Mm.
He just knows. It sticks. And I think the best of the best musicians have big ears. They're just born with an ability to kind of synthesize and understand at a much deeper level chord changes, progressions, movements, etc.
Yeah, that's interesting. That really explains. There's a YouTube video of a guy, he'd never heard Enter Sandman, and the whole point of the video is he sits down at the drum kit. They play Enter Sandman for him one time, like all the way through, and he just listens. And then the rest of the video is then they play the music and he drums it, the whole song, from just listening to it once. And he mostly gets it. He doesn't get it. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. And so that explains it. Like he was able to just like take it and then just spit it right back out.
Yeah. Plus, once you understand music theory of any kind, if you're a drummer, there are there are multiple patterns. Once you understand, oh, this is a blues type pattern, or this is a waltz type pattern, or this is hard rock, and it typically will go in this sequence. And after consuming music and playing it for a long time, you just know those patterns, and then pretty much those patterns will inform what happens next.
Gotcha. Yeah, to like somebody who can't do that, it was like, oh wow, it's like genius. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool skill. I hope in my next life I want to come back as a dog or a drummer or lead guitar player. It's my two next life goals.
Nice.
Yeah.
I wish you could be a dog or a guitarist. The drummer is not a life for you. It's not a good life.
I think I should probably take drum lessons. I think I could do it. Like I think I can. I'm like athletic and coordinated enough, so I think I could use my feet and hands together, and then I can hear music. I would obviously not know any of the technique, but someone could teach me that. So I think I could at least play like a groove, like just a bass and just some snares and bass like simultaneously. I think I could do that. That would be fun. I would enjoy that. So maybe I should add that to my list of things to do.
Good.
Yeah. All right. So that's a lot about music. Good segue into your business. So you want to start a Band of Misfits and go to corporate 9 to 5, or you want to flip it and go 9 to 5 into what led you to Band of Misfits?
Let's do corporate into Misfits, because that seems like there's probably some fun,
all right,
terrible stories about my life that I can weave in.
Yeah, give like the Cliff Notes version of your corporate experience.
Sure. 20 plus years as a professional copywriter, brand positioning, marketing strategy, go to market, sales, anything in the growth spectrum I've done. And I would say, kind of going back to that thread about how artists have big ears, musicians, I always had big ears when it came to advertising and marketing. I understood that business intuitively ever since I was a young kid, and I always wanted to be in advertising ever since I was 5 years old, watching these 30-second commercials that told an incredible story and made me want to buy the product. It's like, I want to do that for a living. And I did that. I went to school for advertising, graduated with a degree, landed truly my dream job right out of school. Worked at a huge ad agency writing for big name companies right out of the gate, 21 years old. Loved it. Moved out of state, wanted to leave Ohio, found a home in Virginia. quickly found another agency and moved over to what they call account management and strategy. So out of the writing realm and into working with clients directly. But I always retained that creative appreciation, understanding the creative product and how to work with creatives to get the best outcomes. Became a part owner of, or one of the owners of an agency, sold my shares when things between my partners and I, we didn't see eye to eye. Ended up working for another wonderful agency with wonderful employers for another 5 years after that, and then went out on my own and launched Band of Misfits.
What? And there was a layoff in there too, right? At the end?
Yeah. That was the last employed role. And think highly of my former employers. So what I'm about to say has nothing to do with them. We're still good friends to this day. I think the world of them. But I resented the fact that my entire destiny was in the hands of anybody else.
Yeah.
I really did. All my fortune was tied up in what somebody else decided for me. And as scary as it was to go out on my own, it was more frightening to me to put my life into somebody else's hands who could make a decision that could change my life in a heartbeat without my say-so in it.
Yeah, and usually those decisions are made, I mean, they're just simply numbered crunches and slashes. So yeah, there is no, I don't think there's a lot of input. I think they just look at a spreadsheet or PowerPoint presentation and then like, all right, this is the number we're trying to get to, and this is the way we're going to get there. And then that's it.
That was my story. Yeah. It came down to numbers.
Yeah. I remember I was a part of a layoff once, and I kept the job simply because of where I lived. Like I won the geographical lottery. It had nothing to do with performance, nothing to do with anything. It was just simply I lived a little farther north, and I was a little bit closer to the territory. And so when my boss called to say that I was keeping the job, which I actually desperately wanted to be let go, I was like, I'll volunteer. Let somebody else have it. I'm out of here. And of course they kept me. She was like, yeah, well, your address won. I was like, I'll move. Can I move today? I'll move south today. Will that help? Can we redo the shuffle? No. Okay, great.
You won the reverse lottery.
I did.
I remember my first job, which I loved. 6 months, I was a writer at an agency. 6 months into it, they lost their biggest account. And we all knew that big layoffs were coming, and they kind of through the grapevine, it was going to be this particular Friday. And I heard from the folks who had been there before, what they would do is they would go to your office, ask you to go up to the manager's office, and they couldn't find you. They'd paid you. So all day I hid out in the bathroom. I was never in my office. And I was like so stressed out about hearing my name being called. And I made it all the way to 5 o'clock. And instead of taking the elevator where I thought I might run into one of these people who were cutting their heads off, I took the fire exit. And I'm scampering down the stairs like, yes, I made it. And then I hear, Stephen! And I look up, and there's the head creative director. And I was like, oh. She just wanted to make sure I was okay. And I had it. And the only reason I kept my job is because I was cheap labor.
Yep.
I was cheap. They were paying me pennies.
You were like Peter in Office Space trying to avoid Lumbergh.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's why the middle managers take the biggest hit on the layoffs, because they're making a decent amount of money and they're the easiest to get rid of.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. So how do we, I'm in your capable hands, but I want to make sure your listeners have some bright side out of this tragic talk about corporate America and layoffs.
Well, yeah, they're obviously really prevalent now. They're seemingly happening happening more and more. I don't know if they're happening more and more, if there's just more press about it because there's so many social media outlets, because they've always happened. I think it's a little bit of both, and obviously tech, which got a little bit bloated anyway. So that's where you see a lot of it. But yeah, it's prevalent, and I think that's why more people are doing what you're doing. A, starting your own thing, and then B, coaching people that are starting their own thing or trying to grow their own thing, because either by force or some combination of force or and will, people are like, hey, I want to do it myself. I want to succeed or fail myself. No boss, no company, whatever. So what did you have the idea to help coaches and consultants because you had the background in marketing and agency and copywriting, or like how did it start when you were like, all right, it's the Steven show?
Good question. So when I launched Misfits, I launched it as a consultancy with coaching as well, which seemed at the time to be like a split personality brand disorder. And I can say that because I'm a brand guy and I'm a marketing guy. I'm like, what, pick a lane, dude. Are you a consultant or are you a coach? Well, I was both. I did both and I loved both. And I didn't want to surrender to one. And I had two different types of clients that I served. I had companies that wanted that pure marketing consulting, and I had clients who wanted that pure executive leadership coaching, or if you were a founder, the kind of work that I did, which means a lot of, I hate to use simple words to define what I was doing at the time, but a lot of it mindset, a lot of it breakthrough work. And I loved doing it, and I was really quite great at it. And I would say, David, the first 3 months of my journey were launching Misfits were a nightmare for me, because I just was so, as much as I was scared of putting my destiny in anybody else's hands, I had such doubt about my ability to succeed. But maybe as a callback to that story, that fun story I told about staring at the mirror for an hour and a half, yelling at myself to pump myself up to play well for the click track at the studio, I just resolved to make it. I literally hit the lowest moment 3 months in, walking my dog Friday night, still remember the street I was on, and I was like, I'm just going to give up. That's it. I'll find a job. This is too hard for me. There's too much uncertainty, too much fear of failure. And then I heard what I could only consider just to be a voice in my head, something from outside of me saying, you can do it. Keep going. You can do it. And something about what happened, and I don't know if it was just hallucination or an inner voice. I don't know where it came from. It's not up for me to decide. But by the next morning, I had recommitted to succeeding, and I did. I ended my first year on my own, replacing my income, which was my first goal, and then growing at 66% from there that first year. By year 2, I started picking up clients who were also independent consultants who were seeing my journey on LinkedIn and saying, hey, could you help me do the same thing? And I realized that what I was doing with those folks was that I was blending the consulting work that I have been doing and then what worked for me as an independent consultant and expert, along with the mindset and the work that I was doing with my private coaching clients. And so I realized I was just blending those two. And by year 3, I realized Misfits was always meant to be what I'm doing today, which is helping the independent expert grow a profitable business that's very life friendly. And so that's my abbreviated Band of Misfits, how did I get here journey.
No, I love it. You sure there wasn't a Grateful Dead song playing on that dog walk?
Sugar Magnolia, da 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 da.
The fire on the mountain, maybe. Message from above. No, I mean I love that story because it's, whatever, the universe, energy, something came to you, that kept you going. I think it would have been easy to quit I think most people would have quit. I probably would have quit. So, good for you to keep at it, and now several years later, not only growing but helping others grow too, which is in and of itself something hard to put a price tag on.
Thank you for that.
What do you see the people that you've worked with? What do you think is the biggest barrier, hurdle? Like, what are they struggling with the most? Like, why do people struggle to monetize their genius and expertise?
Well, I could give you their answer, or the answer for the people who are watching and listening, and then I'll give you the real answer. The answer of why people struggle to monetize their own expertise does come from the playbook that I built over a long period of time on how to tell your story in a way that's authentic to you, how to understand what people really buy when they buy expertise, how to be in market in a way that's authentic to you versus following some stupid playbook or some quote unquote tried and true formula. Don't get me started with quizzes and funnels and all that malarkey. All that's garbage. And even inside of Misfits, what I've been doing over the past 2 weeks, and we're doing a 4-week positioning sprint, where I've taken my playbook after developing brands for 20 plus years and reverse engineered all of those frameworks into an exact system for an independent expert. The amount of clarity that people are getting about how to tell the story about their offers, what customers are really buying, all of that stuff is teachable. All of that stuff is what we do inside of Misfits. We work together. It's all teachable. And once you know the psychology of what's really happening in a buying, selling motion and what customers are really, really looking for today, it becomes very easy to be very successful in a way that is surprising to most people. But the real reason why most people don't achieve their goal, and even when they do achieve their financial goal, they don't achieve their fulfillment goals, which is more time, more headspace, more joy, more freedom, is because there's a voice in all of our heads that says, you can't do it. The same counter voice that I heard all those years ago. The reason why I was suffering in my first 3 months had nothing to do with my performance. I was already getting traction. I was already picking up jobs. It was just something deep inside of me that we all have, which is this sense that it works for other people, but not me. I must be part of the problem. And when you spend too much time entertaining that set of misinformation, your brain shuts down. You no longer think from intuition and creativity and logic and flow. The prefrontal cortex part of the brain, you're just working from the back amygdala and animal brain, the emotional brain. And so you miss out on opportunities. You don't see what's really right in front of you as opportunities for your growth and development. That's what keeps people stuck. And so when you kind of joked about my intro about being kind of strategic and woo-woo, I mean, that's kind of the stuff that I love to do, is figure out, well, what is really holding you back? Do you just need to know how to present your offer or develop a website that actually converts? Yes, and I could just hand you the keys to all of that and you'd be fine, except what are you telling yourself that's holding you back? And that's the thing that I think keeps people locked and stuck. And that's the part that I get most passionate about.
Yeah, it's an inner dialogue, the inner monologue that you're having with yourself, what your stories you're telling yourself. Certainly something I've struggled with throughout different periods of my life. But I think there's a lot of headwind in the entrepreneurial space, in part because we're still so programmed in the 9 to 5 mentality of, working W-2, paycheck, benefits. If you're going to do something like this, coach or consult, you can do that on the side. Doesn't have to be a full-time thing. Slowly changing, but still a long way to go. And so I think when you start having those conversations with friends and family, like whether it's a layoff or whether you quit or whatever, I think you get a lot of pushback, which I think then feeds the internal negative talk of like, well, those closest to me don't think I can do it, so maybe I can't. And then you start going through that. And then if you have a rough spell in your business with your offer, it's not selling, or you're having to discount or whatever, that can snowball fairly quickly. And next thing you know, you're like, here's my resume.
Yeah, and I'm smiling not because any of that makes me happy, but because it's so true. And you talked about headwinds. Most people hearing that would think in stretches of months. I actually think about headwinds in stretches of minutes. Because you could have a world-class day, 5 new leads, your post gets a lot of traction, blah, 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 this and that. And the very next day, you experience a setback or a challenge, because that's what life is. It's a series of challenges. And if you aren't in control of your thoughts, if you don't know patterns to unhook yourself from the stressful thinking, it won't matter how great yesterday was. Well, what will matter to you is in the moment you feel like, yeah, but today's different and I don't know that I can make it. That's why I constantly surround myself with only the people who are going to lift me up and support me, because there's way too much of the garbage out there. And unfortunately, there's way too many people who want you to succeed until you do succeed. And when you do, they don't like that because they have their own head trash. All of a sudden, well, wait a second here. If David's doing it, Stephen's doing it, and I'm not doing it, well, I don't like that. So unconsciously, they try to pull you down.
Yeah, you had a post. I don't remember what it was about, but I remember the theme was when you get that negativity from other people, it's their insecurities, it's their fear, their inability to take action on what they want to do. It doesn't necessarily have to be a business, but there's typically things people want to do that they've put off, talk themselves out of, kick it to next year or whatever. So when you start to hear that about coming to you, it's usually they're just projecting that to you, and then it comes out as like, you're not good enough, you can't do it, you can't make enough money, won't last, whatever. It's almost always a reflection, but it's sometimes hard to keep that separate and remember that. And then you start to take that personally, like, oh, well, this person that I've known for 20 years says, probably not going to work, so maybe it won't work. And really, it's just they haven't taken the chance on whatever it is.
Yeah, when you meet those people, you want to shift into compassion as much as possible. And what often happens is you get resistance or a slight or maybe an eyebrow raised, even a very subtle thing from somebody that you know and trust, when you need people to believe in you because you have a hard time believing in yourself. The mind, which is simply absorbing every positive and negative thing that's ever been spoken over to you, and it's been with you your whole life. It's seen all your failings and fumbles and knows your weak spots. The mind will then kick in with telling Stephen, you failed before. I mean, remember this time? And even if you put your guard up and say, shut up, get out of here, blah, 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 it will come back harder and louder, and it will find that weak spot. It will find that thing because the mind has been with us our whole lives and knows everything. And so the opportunity is to recognize how the mind works. And once you know how the mind works, you can make the mind work better for you.
Yeah. And is that part of what you work with your people on is overcoming that inner dialogue and kind of learning how to redirect those negative thoughts?
Let me do a call back to a topic we shared a few minutes ago, where we talked about how what people buy when they really buy anything. And it's going to be kind of a meta moment. So we'll bring it all together, David. If you go to my website today, welcomemisfit.com, what I offer you is the opportunity to grow that profitable, life-friendly business. That is the calling card for what we do, and that is what 8 out of 10 members want when they come into the program. We do that in spades. All the resources, all the trainings, everything. What people stick around for is what we're talking about here. Because between me and the other members of the network, it's a constant drip of encouragement and tools and resources to help with those moments where we create a route, whether it's mindset or anxiety, whether it's client done me wrong. It's the opportunity to be constantly fed with support and encouragement, because every day there's going to be a new mountain. And in fact, I was reaching out to one of our amazing members who's doing really well, who you know very well, David. I won't mention this person's name, but to say, I said, how can I help you? Yeah, like, I'm seeing your goals here. I just want to check in personally. How can I help you? He said, Stephen, just keep encouraging me. Like, that's all I need right now. Like, I've got all the tools, I've got the resources. Like, just your encouragement matters more to me, because in this person's life and in the person, if you're listening, how many people can you really count on one hand who are really telling you, you got what it takes, you can do it? We just don't have enough of that cheering section. And I think that goes a long way. I know it did for me.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it's interesting, right? The people that are closest to us are typically the ones that are least likely to give you that encouragement, which is a little bit backwards. And there's lots of reasons for that.
They're too busy picking up her socks and,
there's first it's the emotional attachment, there's the reality based, and there's a little bit of the society brainwashing, like I mentioned. Like, it's different. Like when you're running like an online coaching or consulting practice, like that's still, people still are like, that can't work. That can't work long term. Like, you can't just make money online selling whatever you're selling, right? It's still ingrained in people that's just very anti the way to do things. So it isn't necessarily their fault, but you get a lot of that. So I think what you're talking about makes a lot of sense. Is that when you're in this group of people who are kind of all kind of same mission, same goal, different ways of doing it, different expertise, but at the end of the day, trying to do similar things, you get that reinforcement of, they understand what you're going through. They're telling you can do it. They're giving stories. So you're hearing the success, you're seeing the success, and then that allows the more positive pull to offset the negative. And so, like, I can totally understand this person saying, I just need the positive words, encouragement, notes, messages, whatever. Just keep those coming, because that fuel, that's just, even though it's not a lot, it doesn't seem like a lot, it's enough fuel that keeps the tank from running out, and you keep going.
Yeah, I mean, right now we are an intimate group, and I love the intimacy. And so I have the opportunity to offer all new members a private one-to-one strategy session when we get kicked off. Part of that's to introduce them to the resource library and give them kind of a personalized roadmap of the tools that we have available. And we have new tools every month, David. But I come into those sessions with the mindset of, I'm going to give you my very best strategic counsel today about how to grow your business. And 8 out of 10 times, what that new member needs is support and resources in unlocking the garbage that's been swimming in their brain for a long time about all the things that we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. Remove that, provide some tools around that, and then it just gets really easy to write great content that people love. Because when you sit down to write great content, most of the time we're thinking about why our last piece of content didn't work. Well, you're not going to write great content that way, you know?
Sure.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna
Doesn't
write.
help when doesn't help when the algorithm's giving some posts like 9 impressions, but that's a different story. No, I mean, it sounds good. I love what you're doing. I love what you've done. The path that you're on, the people that you've helped. I don't think there's enough people doing stuff like that. I think a lot of coaches are in it for the money. I don't think they care as much about their people. They just look at it as a dollar sign, and they sell a coaching program or a course or both, and then that runs out, and they're like, whatever, and they move on. I'm not saying they're all like that, but I know some that are, and I'm sure you do too. But I think what you're doing is the opposite, and I think it's refreshing. And I wish there were more people doing it your way or similar way.
Yay! Listen, I'll just get on my soapbox for a minute. Those people you're talking about, they're scoundrels. They're absolute detritus. They suck. Because I know what they're doing. Because I've studied persuasion for 30 effing years. I know exactly what buttons they're pressing. They're preying on I'm scared, I'm going to not make money. Here's $10,000 for this stupid course that's not going to give you anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're better at marketing to the weak and the wounded than they are actually at delivering results. Okay. You got me riled up, David. We're gonna have to calm this down before we adjourn or afterwards. Take me through some breath work.
I understand. Yeah, no, I mean it's unfortunately the barrier of entry to call yourself a coach or whatever, especially on LinkedIn, is very low, quite low. Maybe at the bottom, because you could just call yourself a coach and sell just about anything. And I think part of that is you attract a lot more people that shouldn't be doing it, and you attract people like what you're talking about, which is taking advantage and preying on weakness and whatnot. But that's not what you're doing, and that's kind of the point. And hopefully somebody listening to this will take advantage of what you're offering in the group that you have. It's a great group of people. And like you said, I think I think I've seen your post. You consider yourself like the conductor or the maestro that just kind of keeps everything kind of moving along. Maybe keeping the beat.
The producer. Yeah. Producer in the band. The member, the expert is the talent. They're the Beyonce, the Bob Dylan, the Jerry Garcia, if you will, the Bono of their operation. And my job is to figure out what dials to turn with them to get the best performance. And sometimes it's literally like, look, here's a stupid, easy way to present yourself in the marketplace. Sometimes it's the kind of stuff that we touched on in this past 30 minutes about mindset and the inner work. Sometimes it's just hanging out with other people who are in the same space, working through the same challenges, have already overcome those, and they can look back and say, hey, here's what helped me, and that relatability factor. So, but I'm just turning the dials in the background.
Love it. So you're welcome. This is a good place we could go for a lot longer, but we've covered some good ground. It's kind of a good stopping point. You mentioned welcomemisfit.com as a website. You're obviously on LinkedIn. If someone's interested in learning more or reaching out, what's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, come hang out with me on LinkedIn. And weird name, Stephen with a PH. Last name is spelled Moegling, pronounced Megling. Thank you, by the way, for proper pronunciation. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And I would say if anybody's interested in what Misfits is about, click on the golden ticket link at the top of the website. and request a free seat to one of our upcoming sessions. Get in the room, meet the members, see what we're all about. Free to you, no strings attached, and I think it's the best way to know if there's a fit.
That's a good idea. Letting people experience the energy, experience the group. I've been in there. I'll be there in 2 weeks. It's a great
Being
place
one
to
of
be.
our experts, yes, a crew member.
Yes, yeah. Looking forward to that for sure. I've seen you twice this week, so it's been a good week for us. I really appreciate you coming on the show. I could talk music all day long. Like I said, one of my goals is to get to see your band because I'm fascinated by the music. I love Zeppelin. Love to see you play. We'll eventually someday we'll make that happen.
I'm counting on it.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephen.
Thank you.